Uh, Hello and welcome to this 100th video that we have. And it's a pleasure to have you, Ume Ayman, on the show. Thank you for
Thank you
being
so much, Bunty.
here.
And it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Uh, it's quite a serendipity of sorts that we are here together and we are going to talk about a topic that I have no clue what it means, but the line just stuck in my head since yesterday.
Mhm.
The topic I have on hand is the happiness of loneliness.
Happiness to loneliness.
The happiness of loneliness.
Okay, it's something pretty challenging for me as well.
Yeah. So the thought that came to me last night was that as a topic, this sounds quite challenging in terms of we don't see loneliness positively. But in the last
Right.
couple of months, I think literally all the people that we know closely have been going through this sense of isolation or
Mhm.
uh, the lockdown has made us feel a little more than claustrophobic at times.
Mhm.
Various emotions have arisen. Uh, but the thought was when I want to say the happiness of loneliness, what do I really mean? Why do I like that line? So I realized that there is a fine line between loneliness and solitude. So
Right.
on the surface of it, loneliness is imposed upon us. Solitude is what we perhaps could choose to be when we feel like. Uh,
Right.
but beyond that, the first thought when the word loneliness comes is that I don't want it.
Right.
So my simple question to you would be, I would want to start with, what is it there? What is there in the words loneliness that makes us feel so? It's not a good word to even hear. It's something that makes us uncomfortable. So what do you think?
Absolutely.
What do you think is the reason?
I'll yes, I'll contemplate on that. Now, firstly, when we talk about loneliness, as you said, Bunty, that loneliness is something that is forced upon us. Loneliness is something that we don't feel willingly. It's just something that comes on, and all of a sudden you feel that there's no one besides you. It is a very negative thought to think. This is what I feel. So yeah, this is this is basically how I perceive loneliness. But when you say happiness in loneliness, it's somewhat challenging to find that little bit of happiness in the fact that you are lonely.
Okay. So
This is this is
I would want to dig a little deeper. Could you
Mhm.
relate some experience of a time when you were? It could be a little time or 10 minutes or a longer period where you felt lonely, and that sense of isolation. What is it that makes us feel so uncomfortable? Besides the fact that it is imposed upon us, but sometimes you may have people. I have this favorite line from the movie Shakti, Amitabh and Dilip Kumar.
Mhm.
So Amitabh is walking with Smita Patil and she says, "You have a family, but you said that you are alone." He said, "You can be alone even when you have a family." So it just stuck with me
Right.
for so many years that it's such a profound line that people have this sense of feeling nobody understands them
Is with you.
or is
Right.
with you. So have you personally experienced any time like that in your life, and if at all you want to talk about it, and it's not about the time so much, but
um
emotion itself.
yes, to be very honest, yes, I have felt like that many a times in my life, many a times in my life, when I have felt lonely, even having people around. Like, the way I felt, it wasn't understood. The love that I had to give wasn't accepted or taken in wasn't taken as open heartedly as I had given it.
Okay.
So yes, I have felt lonely at times and it's basically the time that you do feel lonely is when you don't have someone to understand you. The moment you have someone, Bunty, to understand you, you stop feeling lonely. Like when you just need one person at least. It's not always it it need not be your husband, it need not be your need not be your boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. But even if you have just one person who understands everything that you feel, even without saying it, like you just the person has to just have a look at your face and they know that okay, this person's feeling this. You don't need to have a vocal conversation with that person.
Yeah.
That's the precise point when you stop feeling lonely, but until then, that's what you feel. So yes, I have felt these things at times in my life when like I have felt misunderstood, or when I felt that there's no one to understand me, or when I need someone, there's no one there. There's no one there at all. Like I need someone to, like I'm having a really tough time, and I need someone to be there along with me and just say that it's okay to break, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel vulnerable. Like I know I'm vulnerable. I'm supposed to be strong, although like in this point in my life right now, I'm supposed to be really, really very strong, but I feel very vulnerable. But there are times when I just want to break down. But and lucky for me, my family has been there. So the moment they were there to tell me that we are there for you. If you want to break, it's fine. If you want to cry, it's fine. We know that you're not going to completely shatter. We know that you're strong, but it's all right to be vulnerable. It's all right to feel this way. So that's the time I actually, like, you're talking about the loneliness that I have felt, but I really want to highlight the fact that it's not about the loneliness that I did feel, but about the fact that I don't feel that loneliness anymore because I have people with me, even though they're not with me physically, considering we are all in a lockdown situation and everyone's far apart and people are taking so many precautions and stuff like that.
Okay. So
So, yeah.
would it mean that it's a sense of ease of being understood, or uh, sense of meaning something to someone? Is that what it is?
Yes, the moment, yes, it's like this. The moment you find people who will understand you, who will empathize with you, people who don't pity you in your situation, because that's something that I really don't like. Like if a person's going through a really hard time in life, the last thing that you want to do with that person is pity them. The moment you pity them, you've broken them already.
Yeah.
So you respect them for the fact that they're so strong, that they're going through whatever they're going through with their head held high.
Hmm.
So you don't pity them, you understand them, you empathize with them, you you make them feel strong.
Okay.
That's when I feel loneliness completely goes away. And you're talking to me about loneliness, but this is the point in my life where I don't feel lonely at all.
Hmm. No, which is good.
Yeah.
The idea is it gives you some perspective, then it's easier, because if it is so strong a emotion, then it becomes difficult to be objective about it.
Yes, and even when I did feel lonely, Bunty, I have always been a very, you can call me a person who is an optimist, or you can say I'm a dreamer, or people would say that, like she's got a head filled with dreams, but it's not that way. Even in my worst times, I know, I know for a fact, like if a person who's an optimist, a person who you say is a dreamer, may not just be like that for no reason. I call myself a person who prays, a person who believes, a person who has faith. So because of that, even in that loneliness, that small iota of happiness that was there was only brought about by faith. That was it. So I had faith and I could get through it. And it's like this, loneliness is a really horrible thing to feel. Like to feel alone in this world, no one's there for you, no one's with you, no one's there to hold your hand. If something goes wrong, you have no one to fall back on. You're just alone, standing alone, and anything might happen and no one would even care, that kind of thing. But our spirit is very resilient. This is what I feel. And if we just that if we just hold that ray of light, that hope, that optimism in our mind, and we hold it very strongly, we hold on to our faith. So I think that you just come out of it. I think you read that poem of mine where I say that I don't know how I'm going to cross the finish line. Maybe there won't be air in my lungs, or maybe my body might be going numb, but I'll still make through. I'll make it. So I think it's the faith that is that tiny iota of happiness, even in the loneliness, if you choose to see it.
Yeah, I have a trick question here.
No, don't trick me, please.
It's quite beautiful because of what you just said. So this sense of, because you keep saying the gesture you make is very small, that means it really needs to be seen within yourself, and it's not going to be easy to find that spot, because good times generally numb us into the real impact of our thoughts or our processes. It's only the bad times when we are challenged to relook at ourselves and figure out. So my trick question is loneliness a prerequisite to find that you're resilient? Please think about this. How would you know that you're resilient unless you're really, life doesn't test you there strongly? Would you want to contemplate?
So is loneliness a prerequisite to finding out how resilient you are? So I'll give you a very small I'll relate an experience. It's happened to me in the past few months, actually. Something that I've come out of it. It's a very small thing, like nowadays during the lockdown, it's been really tough for everyone. Job wise, people are losing their jobs and things like that. So we were on tenterhooks also, teachers. And I was just wondering, okay, how am I going to do it if my job goes?
Okay.
And and there had been a letter, I think, from the Maharashtra government saying that schools for class 2 and class 1, they have to be closed, and classes for them won't be on anymore. And I teach in the 2nd and 4th, and we were all just wondering, okay, are we going to still be in school? So that was the time, that period of wonder. And to top it all, my mom, dad, Bakir, my bhabhi, Mehak, they all live really far, and it's a 45-minute distance. And also there were these strict rules in our society and in their society, where you can't step out and you can't meet people and all of that. You're well aware of it. So I was on tenterhooks. I didn't know what was going to happen in the future and all of that. And I have my 2 girls, so I was a little worried. And that is when, I felt really lonely, because talking to my mom 7 times a day also wasn't helping. Talking to my dad 5 times a day wasn't helping. I was my Bobby used to tell me, you know, like my Bobby used to tell me, "Okay, maybe you want to talk how much you just want to talk, you just keep talking. We don't mind it." But it wasn't just helping. I felt very, very alone. That that thing was really bad. That feeling was so horrible. Like, what's gonna happen to me now? You know, what's gonna happen to my daughters? So that
Yes.
is when I realized, you know, okay, I am in this. There's a huge mountain on top of my head. I think I'm going to lose it. I think all the breathing from my lungs, I mean, I'm not going to be able to breathe anymore. I think I'm just going to explode. I don't know how I'm going to die. Am I going to live through this weight, or am I going to die? I have no idea. And then, uh, and then I just found that the spirit, you know, like at that time also, as I told you, that you may call me a dreamer, you may call me an optimist, but I believe that I'm a person of faith. So I hold on to my faith very, very, very strongly. So I just held on to that, and I said, okay, whatever whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I mean, I can't dodge it. Like, me worrying is not going to help in any way. So rather than think of what worse can happen to me, or then rather than imagine those situations where the lung is where my lungs are exploding, or I'm not being able to breathe, or I'm not being able to face my life, or something like that. So I just said, okay, why do these things? Just, you know, just focus on what is now. I tried to make the best of each day, whatever we had. It lasted for a week, this period of loneliness, you know. And I just tried to make the best of the days, try to give my, I mean, find happiness with my kids. And I try to, and yes, as I told you, holding on to faith is it does not mean that, you know, you're sitting and you're praying all day. Holding on to your
Yeah.
faith also means like, even when I'm cooking food, or if I'm watering my plants, or if I'm cleaning my home, or if I'm feeding my children, you know, every time, in whatever moment that you live, there's that there are always thoughts filling your head. It's up to you to choose what thoughts to fill your head with. So I just
Wonderful.
held on to that faith. I let those thoughts of my faith come in my head. I chose to fill my head with those thoughts, that they're not going to let me down, and God is not going to let me down, and I know I'll make it. I think I have it in me to make it. Like, why not, instead of thinking of how I'm going to lose it, why not think of how I'm going to make it, if
Yeah.
worst comes to worst? So that's when I learned my resilience. Like, I was able to do it and come out of that. And then we got another letter from the Maharashtra government the following week, that you know, because parents had started revolting, you know, that our kids are free, our kids are using the mobiles and their laptops and things like that anyways, so it's more constructive if schools are on for even second standard and first.
Right.
So, I mean, then we were assured, you know, that okay, we are fine.
Yes.
So that that was how I learned that. And there are many more like these experiences. They are much more deeper experiences, but I don't want to relate anything about those experiences right now.
This is good. This is good what you related. Now I have two
This
questions.
was a very this was an experience that I could relate, because I think there are many of us also going through the same thing in this situation.
Yes, yes,
And without going too deep into my life, I think I could make a point with this only.
yes. So I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One is a easy question, one is a difficult question. Which one do you want to go for?
Okay, begin with the difficult one. I'm fine with it.
Difficult one. So the difficult question I have is, you kind of did prove the fact that unless uh, one is really has his or her back against the wall, you really do not know your strength, fortitude, resilience, whatever you want to call it. Uh,
Mhm.
now, my question to you is, say if it were, I want you to go even a little more closer than what you just narrated. Within that 1 week, when just uh, before you got the breakthrough,
Mhm.
was there an episode where you thought it is impossible to go through, and what happened? If you could describe that moment of, besides the graphic description of you give of Rambo kind of images, this lasting and that last, but just, but just the
Yes,
fact
I
of,
am dramatic.
yeah, quite. So my question is more about what frame of mind was the mind that did not know and was suffering loneliness, and immediately if something happened, what was the shift? If you understand my question, what
No,
was
you
the
will have to
shift?
repeat it once more because that was a pretty long
Yeah,
question.
yeah. So the question is fairly simple in the sense of, you said you have faith. You had faith even when you were suffering.
Right.
You had faith when you got that insight, whatever that insight was. Okay, I'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had faith when you are no longer lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was that point that got you convinced that my faith works? What is it that you, was it a sense of uh, acceptance of the reality of the situation? Because you mentioned one line, my worrying about it is not going to change, which is a big
Right.
one to accept for most people. We all know it. It's not that we are dumb or we do not understand that we cannot change anything. If there is a
Mm-hmm.
lockdown announced by the government, none of us can do anything actually. Or
Yes.
if they throw our businesses or our jobs out, we can't really do much. If they put a new tax, we can't do
Mm-hmm.
much. So more or less, life is
Mm-hmm.
actually about circumstances which are beyond our control most of the time.
Yes.
So would you want to go into that moment just before you got the breakthrough? You know, I have to accept it. What was it? Was it anything that happened which kind of convinced you no, or
No,
was it
I mean to such a lengthy question, Bunty, I'll say no. To
okay?
such a lengthy question, I'll
Yeah.
say no because the thing is, see, if a person grapples onto faith, so then there is no way on earth that that person's gonna feel like they've lost it, or they're going to have to uh, or things are going to finish now. You is that what you mean? Like that moment where your back is up the wall and you think you're it bas abhi finish ho gaya hai, abhi kuch nahi ho sakta hai, and something good happens. Is
Whatever
that what you
inside
mean?
internally.
So no, I didn't feel it at all.
Okay.
I didn't feel it at all because I knew that it has to work. Like if you have the meaning of faith is only that, Bunty, that it has to work. Like when you believe, when you have that faith, ha- I mean the meaning of faith is giving your belief open-heartedly, not having doubt in your head that how can you say, oh, I believe in God, like God will do the best for me, and then you find out that your principal your not principal, but like people call out, like your office calls you and says, okay, sorry boss, your salary is being cut by 30%, and then you say, see God, what have you done? how can you how can you challenge God then? Like everything happens for a purpose and a reason.
Yeah.
Like you just accept it, gracefully accept it. Like whatever happened with me up till now, I have just gracefully accepted it. I have said that it's okay, maybe there's something better that I don't know about.
Okay, this is a good answer
Maybe
because
there's something better that I really don't know about. And I on this, I have made my mind strong, and I feel that if you build this kind of strength in your mind, you can face any situation. I don't think your be you know I don't think anything can trample upon you, or
yeah,
any kind of difficult situation can end you, not
yeah,
when you have faith.
wonderful. So I will just decode what you said, and you correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong somewhere. Although you
Mhm.
use the
Right.
same word again and again, faith, I want to decode what you really said because it's so beautiful the journey that you described. So one thing you mentioned was, even before you mentioned it, there was a question running in my head. So if your faith is a sense of surrender to start with, to
Mhm.
to a force that you may believe or not, but you know that it is there, it is functioning for you. Okay.
Right.
Now that means that
Bunty, before you are going to decode what I say, now I'll tell you of only one small little sample. Okay, a kind of a very weird experience that happened with me. Like I was praying namaz, and this poetry writing, then putting it up on Instagram, designing my work. It takes out a lot of time. Now as a mom, we come, like the moment we give birth, we are loaded with guilt. So the moment the baby cries, we feel, oh my god, mera bacha ro raha hai, my child is crying, what a horrible mother I am. If your child is hungry for half an hour more, then you feel, what a horrible mother I am, I have not been able to cook my food on time. If you're sick, you still feel guilty that, oh god, I got sick, I can't see my baby, I can't look after my kid. Then if you come late from work, you feel that, oh my, I could have, if I didn't, if I had come home from work early, I would have spent time with my kid. So you're so loaded with guilt, and every time, all the time. This is for every mom. I mean, I'm 100% sure of it. I've seen it happen. So yeah, so this was what I felt that day, that it's taking out so much of my energy, and I also have to give a lot of time to school and my kids. I have to divide my time between seven things at home, considering the fact that we are in a lockdown and we got to do everything around the house, and take care of the kids, their studies, their the things that they need to do, entertain them also.
yeah, yeah,
So I felt that I was praying, I was prostrating, and I said, Allah, what do you think? I think I should just leave all this. What is this Instagram ka chakkar? I don't like it. And I pray. When I pray I just say whatever I need to say in English only. So I said, what is this chakkar? I have left Facebook. I hate Facebook. I've left Facebook. I leave Instagram also. So I finished praying, and I prayed for a few other things. And the moment I was wrapping up, and the phone buzzed. One of the parents at my school messaged me to tell me, it was a message from her to telling me that she's uh, a patient, uh, she's a cancer patient,
oh,
and and one of the poems that I have written about resilience, I mean, she felt it, and she felt it was written for her, and she was very happy. Like I don't want to boast about myself, so she just felt that that poem made sense to her. She felt that it was about her life, and she thanked me for having written it, and she thanked me that I was brave enough to share. And she was like, ma'am, you're doing such a wonderful job. I hope you are successful with whatever you do, and thank you for this uh, for uh, for this contribution. So that's when I was like, maybe this is God's answer, that maybe I need to keep going, you know. So like sometimes God just answers us in small signs, you know. It's just up to us to see.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I will continue decoding because you are adding nice layers to the conversation. Um
No. Yeah.
One is,
Thank you.
one of the things that, okay, I'll begin with the last because you just said, you talked about an episode that is generally not understood even by the people who are doing it. In this case, you yourself. The purity
Mm-hmm.
of intention, to me, I think is not given enough advertising in life. People think it's are theek hai na, but it's not theek hai. To be pure is a very difficult thing because we all have our flaws, we all have our different kind of vices. So when you're doing something with the intent of just putting it out there, where you're being honest about the process that has actually hurt you, you're just using the talent that is gifted to you by God, by nature, whoever believes whatever is fine as long as they are good human beings. And you're putting it out there. And that is why it reaches so many people. Because it's not poetry in the traditional sense. I'm sure there are 10,000 poets better than you in the world. There
Of
are
course, I
people who
believe it.
know. There are people who have better language skills. There are people who write better. Whatever. There are many ways to discuss poetry in that sense. But it's not about the
Mm-hmm.
technical finesse. It's about the purity of your expression. You do not uh, hold back. So that is one thing I would want to bring to your notice because this is the idea of the values workshop is within the vulnerable facets of ourselves, within the circumstances which seem very difficult to deal with. There are certain goodness or shades of goodness that spring forth on their own. And that needs to be talked about. So this is one. And in terms of the facets of your faith itself, I thought the initial part of when the things are bad, you sustain yourself. You may not get the answer on the same day. You may not get it on the next day. You may not even get on the next day after that. You got to keep sustaining yourself because uh, there is a beautiful Urdu word called sabr, which is basically
Sabr. Yeah.
patience. Patience.
Yes.
So you have to have patience. Then, along with patience, you got to keep doing whatever your discipline is. If it is prayer, it is prayer. If it is something else, something else. If it is work, it is work. Whatever, but you keep doing it. You cannot be just sitting. Like you said, I have 7 things to do. So you held on to your responsibility. You had patience. That was the first part of how you traverse the journey of your faith. In my eyes, when I hear this, the second part was when you said, okay, maybe there is something wrong in my thinking. You were revisiting your own premise of crying, or feeling afraid, or all those things. You said, no, maybe there is something wrong in my thinking. So that takes humility. So that time your faith was about being humble and saying, maybe I am perceiving it wrong. And when you allowed that to happen, so there is something else that came up, which is what you said that you understood. Maybe I should start focusing on the positives because a lot of, I think there is some line which says uh, most of the things that we imagine don't happen. We unnecessarily waste our time about that. So you kind of realize that, look, till it happens, why should I bother? It's not happened, and let me just concentrate. If you realize all your answers, if you want to call it, I'm specifying it not because of my personal beliefs, but so that people who are watching it, if they believe it or not, but the answers came after you opened yourself. That is a prerequisite because the person who's going through the hard has to do the hard yards. The loneliness has to be
Yes.
felt. The resilience has to be discovered within the self. And then
Right.
divine help or whatever we call it, grace and
Mm-hmm.
God comes up because he realizes here is a worthy person. willing to fight, because enough number of people are going and saying mera paisa badha do, mera job badha do, mera shadi kara do, mera bachcha kara do. There are enough people crying in the world. Why should everybody not get it? It's not about blind faith in the sense of uh, in the sense of uh, that I deserve it. It's not deserving. It's about deserving it whether you get it or not. So you keep doing the right thing. You keep having patience. You keep doing the discipline that you had. I'm sure you're a good namazi. Then you are.
Thank you.
So, and also, so I think that is one important thing, because one of the things that I would not ask people to follow is because मांगते तो सब है. Everybody is going out and asking for this or that, and obviously there is so many things that can be better in our lives. But to hold on to the values of patience, humility, ability to relook at our own premise, and willingness to change, I think these come out to me very strongly in your talk. You are not giving yourselves obviously credit, and which is again a good thing, because the moment you get arrogant about it, then that goes away. Somehow it's very subtle, it's very pure. You cannot, uh, you cannot,
Thank you.
you only can soil it. Nahi to what is happening is always on a good day. So now the happy question. This was the difficult one.
Yes.
Um,
I'd like to add to the difficult one.
please.
There is that one saying by Rumi: "The wound is the part where the light enters you."
Yeah.
I think I know a lot about. I can just give you a lot of quotes about him, but like this one came to my mind because you spoke about it in this manner.
Yeah, yeah. So the
Yeah.
happy part, happy question is, now I want you to again think about the part when you made your peace with the loneliness and you came to a point,
Mhm.
now I have to think positive. I want you to think, is this happiness of a kind that is grasping kind of happiness, or is it just peace? And are they different? Because a lot of us, when we think of happiness, no, we think of great things.
Peace and
And an excitement, for want of a better term, because many times we think, if I'm asking you what makes you happy, there are people who will say I want to go abroad, or somebody will say I want to take this vacation, I want to stay in a 5-star, I want this, I want that.
Mhm.
But actually, when you really experience happiness like the one that you experienced, is it different, and how is it different for you?
it is very different. It is very very different actually, because see, I can experience happiness on two levels. All right, this happiness that you're talking about, uh, it's more peaceful. It allows you to be happy as our term happiness in any state of being. Like
Ah,
I may have every trouble on my head. I may have every trouble on my head, but I'm very happy. Like what is there in my life not to be happy about?
wonderful.
The I mean, I really don't understand that. Like anyone can ask me if I'm happy or not, and I'll say I'm damn happy. I'm really really happy. Happiness over here is peaceful, and that there can be a millionaire. Like I can go for shopping every day. Like okay, chalo, let's go buy new shoes. Let's go buy new clothes. Let's go for a swing with my friends, and let's go in the fancy cars. Or let's okay, what makes me happy? Okay, if I have to take a vacation over here, or if I could go there, whatever, like, or I could get the latest iPhone, things like that. But the moment you acquire it, you still realize that hollowness that you feel inside your heart, it's still very much prevalent. It's not gone away still. So that iPhone has not cured it. Maybe momentarily, momentarily you'll feel, okay, yeah, I have an iPhone in my hand, I'm so happy, I'm so lucky, and all of that. Maybe you'll even say thank you to God for it, like, okay, I have so much money, thank you God for that, I could afford this iPhone. But still that hollowness is there in your heart. It doesn't go away unless you're peaceful. It won't go away. तो उससे अच्छा chocolate खा लो. Because chocolate is the best way to make you feel happy instantly.
Yeah.
And I can eat like bars of chocolate. I can eat bars of chocolate. That's what I'm telling you. I'm a human being. Like, I'm not a super mom or super hero or something like that. I love junk food and I love chocolate.
Yeah. I know.
And empty tubs of ice cream, you know, like instead of going and emptying your wallets in malls where they are standing to you know, like fleece you, you might as well eat a whole tub of ice cream. Usse acha.
Okay.
So that's what happiness I look for is the peace, which you can not find in any other state but within yourself. If you're at peace, you're happy.
Yes. I think if there are any restaurant owners or food lovers out there, they will completely relate to what you're saying. Food and ice cream and chocolate are always.
There are many people who do this. Yeah.
Yes.
They feel sad, they start eating ice cream.
Yeah, that is a separate problem by itself. If sometimes it's just a sugar rush, like we say, but that's a fine thing. I wanted to ask you. You made a very nice point when you began this answer. You said, if I am peaceful, then it does not matter what problems I have. Okay. Uh, have you ever sat down and thought, why is it so? And if yes, then what is it according to you that makes that peace, or that, because the problem is not going away. Say if I have to pay rent and I don't have money, I have to arrange for it. There is no chutti about that. Or if I have to pay EMI, or if something or the other is always there on the top of our heads. So when we are there, that has to be done. And yet I am peaceful. Yeah, let's see. So
Over here, you're peaceful because you're not just letting it go. You know there you can't, but still you can't be peaceful if you know, you take for example your situation. Sophie, can you start this plug, John? So how can you be peaceful if you know that you have rent to be paid or an EMI to be paid?
Yes.
And you're not doing anything about it.
Okay.
Like a person who does not do anything about it and says, oh yeah, I'm very peaceful, ठीक है, you know, like हो जाएगा ऐसे ही नहीं होने वाला. It's not just gonna happen.
Okay.
You got to also work hard for it, right?
Yeah.
Then only you can be peaceful. Like you give your 100% to yourself. If you know that you have a responsibility of rent, you know you have the responsibility of an EMI, you know you have 10,000 responsibilities. Push yourself, give your 100%, give your 1,000% to make it work for you. Then of course you're going to be peaceful. Because more than that, what can you do? You have accepted that a lot of the situations in your life are not within your control. So you've accepted that. But at the same time, you can't just sleep and say, oh, it will be managed. That's not peace. That's literally choking yourself with your own hands.
Okay, that is interesting. So if I understand correctly, among the Hindus, this is one of the concepts given to us by a lot of whatever we've heard on TV and karam karo phal mujh par chhod do wala version. Do your karma, leave the rest to God, being a concept. Now my understanding, I want to delineate these two and ask you, how does that work? There are two people who do the same amount of work. One person is peaceful, one is agitated about wanting to fulfill that EMI or rent or whatever issue that they have. Both have the same issue. Both. How can one make this peace point possible? Because of your own example earlier, would you want to delve what helped you? How did that faith develop? Or what was it what is it that gives you the sense of letting go at some point? Is there anything like that, or is it just part of practice? You go through that is
Mm,
also part of your journey.
okay, so I'll just try to understand understand your question. Like there are two people who are experiencing the exact same problems, but one is at peace and one isn't. So what you mean to ask me, why is that?
I mean to ask you that peace is obviously because of, if we were to go by what we said, both of us agreed on sometime earlier that that person has gone through these same journey that you have, saying he accepts his problem, then he breaks it down, then he has the humility to understand it, then he still continues his faith and does what he can. Um, so where is the difference in this guy? If this guy, the other guy who's not getting results, uh, I want to bring in the aspect of practice because a lot of us do not understand.
So
Uh, we think, oh,
according to
every day,
me, according to what I
please,
see,
please.
see, according to me, what I understood from what you were saying, you just want to know the difference between these two people according to me.
Okay,
Is that it?
you start. I'll know.
Okay. See, the first person is, I can say, more positive. He's he has a positive mindset. Positive mindset does not mean he's only thinking of the good days, the happy things, but it's just that he has come to terms with whatever is happening. He accepts it, he's peaceful. Whereas the other person, I have faced people like this, okay, where they have all these things, like what all these things on them. See, each of us, I'm not just singling myself or you or another third person or fourth person that I know. Each of us has a lot of problems that they don't talk about. Okay, the fact that they don't talk about those problems doesn't mean they don't exist, but all of us have different ways of dealing with those problems.
Yes.
And some of them, they are very negative about it. They'll keep on complaining, and I really don't understand these people. I like to stay away from them. I really like to stay away from them,
You
because
don't give
if the
them
fact that
thumbs
they're
up ice
complaining,
cream.
as you, yeah, I don't. See, firstly, the moment you complain, you gain an insight that, oh, he doesn't have sabr, he doesn't have patience, he doesn't have any peace, internal peace hai nahi. And the other thing is that he's not enjoying his life as it is. The capacity to enjoy your life as it is, whatever is given to you, if you are not grateful for it, then how are you going to get more? I mean, I am not grateful for whatever I have because I say, oh, if I'm grateful, then God is going to give me. I'm honestly grateful. I'm happy. Like, I have always been this kind of person. Always. I have never said that, I'm going to be this great person and I am going to conquer the world and, these flighty thoughts. I was never arrogant about myself. I've never thought that people have this, they fly on high horses. But I've not even been that kind of person. I have just genuinely been, I'm happy. Very happy. Like, okay, what is this? Fine. If there's a problem also, fine, I'll deal with it. It'll go away. It has to pass. I'm not going to stay forever in that only. So the thing is that you enjoy what you got. That person who is so much in, who's so, like, who is doomed himself in turmoil, his own mental turmoil, is the person who is not enjoying any aspect of what he is doing. I have faced those people, and they are very negative. They say that I can't do this. It's not possible for me. I don't think I'll ever do this in my life. And I just think that, like at that time, all these thoughts come into my mind that each and every person we say is unique. They are filled with filled with qualities that they themselves don't know about. People see. But people also have their own egos. They're not going to come and tell you that how great you are for no reason. But you got to look within yourself, accept yourself for who you are, and just be peacefully, just enjoy that moment for what it's presenting itself to you. So right now during lockdown, I am like, we've been in the house for 7 months now, right?
Yeah.
What more can we do? How do we not feel this claustrophobia? How do we I mean, people have got frustrated. There are people who come complaining to me on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I really get very irritated with them. Like, I don't know when this coronavirus is going to end. I don't know when this coronavirus is going to end. And initially, even my kids used to, those things had rubbed off on my kids. And I told them only one thing, that beta, do you know you're going down in history? Because there's this pandemic that in the future people are going to study about, and you're going to be really old and you're going to be able to talk about these days.
Yeah.
So let's just have fun. Like, we are always caught up in the routine of life, like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, you go to school, you come back, you rush, you change, you eat, you immediately rush for madrasa classes or skating classes or some of the other class. And then you come home, and then I'm cooking food, and then I'm feeding you, and I'm putting you to bed early, and I'm preparing for the next day. So we are getting a chance to unwind now. Let's unwind. What's there? Why to complain? So then there were times when we don't have a lot of entertainment. Amazon had stopped delivering, Flipkart had stopped delivering. We couldn't order games, books, nothing. So we had to invent games on our own. So I had seen this one game online where this mom creates situations for the children on a daily basis, and they have to just react. I did the same thing with my kids. One day I told them to pretend that our balcony was an island, and they were trapped on that island with just a few objects that I had given them, and they had to save themselves. It was really fun that day because I was filming the video, and they were screaming on top of their voices, like, help us, we're stranded on an island and we're on the 11th floor. And we have buildings all around us. So they were it was 8 o'clock in the evening, and they were playing like this. Then there was another day when I said that let's pretend you all are animals for 10 minutes, and every 10 minutes I'll change the animal that you're going to be, and you have to move around the house and do whatever you want as that animal. So one time I just said that you both are frogs now. So for 10 minutes they were frogs, and if they wanted to go drink water, they had to move, like hop around and go to the kitchen and drink water. If they wanted to come to me to ask me anything, they would have to hop to me. Then I asked them to be kangaroos. So basically it is all about enjoying what is in your hand. Whatever's in your hand, be happy in that first. Learn to be happy in that first. The moment they're happy in that first, all the negativity starts subsiding, and they stop complaining. And then that's when that light enters them. Okay, the life is so much better like this.
Yeah.
I hope I made sense.
I think you did, because this is a beautiful combination of things that you.
One moment, Bunty. One moment.
Yeah. So the thought was continuing. I like your train of thought, because all of it seems to emanate from little gems keep springing up. So one little thing that sprang for me was, when one accepts what it is, whatever the situation is, your mind is less troubled. So that part of the mind becomes kind of free. Because when you're happy, your mind kind of expands. It sees possibilities, it sees things that can be done, positives that are possible. because negativity also pulls us down mentally, physically. We feel more lethargic, we feel very sorry for ourselves, we feel like crying, we feel depressed. But when we are in this frame of mind where we accept, okay, things are not, I don't have the rent, I don't have this, I am in lockdown, I can't order Amazon, Flipkart, I can't do what I used to do. Now what can I do? So when you just stop there, then the light enters you, is light of creativity, light of happiness, light of joy, light of communion with other people, with your own self. Some people meditate, some people play games, some people talk to their loved ones who they haven't for a long time. Some people play games, like you said, or create something. A lot of recipes were doing the rounds. Like we went into this whole creating because my daughter was getting worked up. So we used to always every now and then, let's try this. So of all the people, even I started searching and saying, okay, this is easy. Let's do this. Let's this do this. And she used to order me
That's
around.
awesome.
You got to cut these veggies. You can't just order us that do this. You also have to help. And so we had this huge fun thing for a month and a half. Surely that recipe thing was doing the rounds. Then we discovered games that my friends had given her, and we never found time for them. So we sat down and next 1 hour. So pulling, pushing, word games. Try to figure out how it worked. So this creative sense of being, a happy sense of being, we started relating to each other better. I started understanding them. They started understanding my point of view. When you sit down and you explain that these are issues that one faces at work or stuff like that, or they explain to us when we are at home, these are things happening to us. Otherwise, our worlds are completely apart because we are running here and there. Like you said some time back, we have our schedules fixed. But here there is no schedule that was
Right.
working. So this was one point that
Right.
another point that I liked about what you said was a sense of gratitude because we are alive and we are healthy. As we hear news from various quarters, from various people, relatives, friends, you realize there are so many people suffering from not only COVID but so many other kind of diseases. They face problem getting medicine, getting admitted to hospitals, uh, getting worried about things which which there were no answers for. There were no doctors
Right.
available for some of them. So we got to be grateful. You cannot say that your story is the worst in the world. It never is. Almost never is. There are so many people going through such genuine tough times. So I liked that sense of gratitude because you also said it very happily, in the sense of not abhi kuch karna nahi hai, let's be grateful, because that's not grateful. That is ungrateful actually. You are actually complaining in a roundabout manner. Yeah, God does this for me or whatever. No, you genuinely happy for the gifts that you have. If you are healthy, that means you don't have to worry about medicine. You don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to worry about COVID to start with. Uh,
Right.
your mind frame is good. One little thing I would want to ask you, since you said a lot of friends call you to tell you their cribbing stories, and you described your way of dealing with it. So you seem to have a happy-go-lucky, uh, but with responsibility taken care of attitude. I'll do my best, and then I'll leave the rest to God. Whatever happens, happens. So
Right.
you think it affects also the people who call you, that they think, yeah, she's going through so many troubles, but she has such an
I
optimism.
hope it does.
Uh,
I hope it does.
and no,
I
nobody.
hope it does. Many people just call me a dreamer, and many people just call me a dreamer, and many people just say that your head is in the clouds, or many people just say that uh, I mean you're not practical enough. But I also know the practicalities. I am aware of everything, but I choose to look at the brighter side because, as I said, that if you if you hold on to faith, then there is no, and if you've surrendered, to yourself, to God or whoever you pray to, if
Hmm.
you've surrendered yourself, then how can you doubt that it's not going to work? And the other thing is, it's not like I'm not practical or anything like that. I am practical as well. Like I do my share of responsibilities. I fulfill them. I do everything that needs to be done to make our life run, you know. So that's about it.
I have a nice little question at the last line that you said. Um, you said, how can you doubt? I want to pursue that thought because it's very interesting. My understanding is even those with extreme faith do have doubts. It's not that they don't exist, but
Yes, they
they
do.
continue their faith. They keep doing their whatever routine prayers or whatever schedules they have, because that is something which is misunderstood by a lot of people. They think, oh, it's easy for you.
Right.
You don't have the doubts. You have the same doubts. In fact, you have perhaps more, but you accept this is one part of my mind which is doubting. This is one schedule, one discipline, one sense of practice that I picked up. My responsibility towards what I call faith, I'll keep doing it. Whatever
Hmm.
the prayer is. Because there, I know of one or
Hmm.
two people in the era in the realm of faith, they have immense faith. And there are at least 50, 100, it's like a saintly fellow that I happen to know. We are family friends. There are at least 100 odd people who come to him. His own family, I think, besides him and his dad, everybody else is also growing in faith. But these guys have genuine faith. They may be going through the worst times. And there are people who come and told them these things, the same thing that you are being told. People have been kind, they've told you dreamers. They've told them, they come to them for help. And then they give them swear words and go away. That you can't control your own problem, what will you control my problem?
Right.
But I feel that you have a problem and you're not bothered about your own, but you are willing to help others. I think again it comes back to the purity of intent, purity of service, purity of goodness, purity of being. See, things are what they are. None of us can change them. None of
Right.
us is at a position of some great Buddha or like the Peer, and we are not that level Sufi saints or something that we can say we can change things. We cannot. We have to accept. But this acceptance itself gives you a lot of power, isn't it?
Right.
You want to talk about this
Yes, it
acceptance
does.
bit a little in terms of what makes you accept
Uh,
somebody who doesn't believe in this? How do you accept? What do you tell yourself?
no, I didn't get that, but it kind of trailed.
Ah, okay.
Your voice kind of trailed. I think maybe because of the internet.
Yeah. So my question is, I want you to take us through your journey of acceptance. What does it really mean? When there is doubt, what is it that you do that makes acceptance be
Okay,
over?
I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, see, I read a lot about faith, and I read about it a lot. Now, as for my faith, I'm a Muslim. So, we are told that Allah likes it when we ask. You know, He's taking you through a problem. He'll get you out of the problem also. And if you're at sea, don't look at it as if, like you're going to drown in that storm. Maybe he's teaching you to swim,
Okay.
and maybe he's letting you be in that place for a little longer to see how strongly you believe in him or not.
Okay.
So you keep on, like, Allah has his gates, right? You keep knocking on his door. Keep knocking on his door. He likes it when you ask. He'll answer you at the right time.
Okay.
He'll answer you at the right time. You don't. He may not answer you immediately. It was something that you said
Yeah.
earlier.
Patience.
Yeah. So he's seeing your patience. You have your doubts. Your doubts will come because he's not answering you immediately, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one would have doubts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not going to ever answer you at any other time than the right time.
So,
So maybe it's not your right time.
okay, so I have a interesting observation to this. For people who are non-believers, I'm trying to decode what you're saying because this to me is also revealing natural processes. So, for example, you stay with the situation.
And yeah, as I said, he likes it when you ask. So please keep on asking, keep on asking, keep on praying. He likes it when you pray. This is what we are taught, that he likes it when you pray. And there is this one very famous quote by Rumi, like it describes God in terms of the beloved and Rumi in terms of the lover, wherein Rumi takes 5 steps forward and the beloved takes all the other steps towards him. The beloved's arms are already extended. It's up to the lover to move towards the beloved.
Okay.
So it means that just go towards him a little and he'll hold on to you. You don't even have to worry about it.
Okay. So does this mean if I were to then use all that you've said in the talk so far, is all the good properties that one has, uh, be it faith, be it humility, be it acceptance of the things as they are, be it hard work, accepting your responsibilities, all of these things, being practical
I
about
think we've talked about it a lot. So many different things just came out of your one topic, happiness in loneliness.
yeah. So this entire thing that you are taking together and you stay with it. So your job is to stay with what you got as long as you can, and then a little more, and then a little more, till your time comes. The time
Right.
will come, or it may not come. That's none of your business. You have to do the right thing. You have to keep on doing the right thing. That is your job as
Right.
either a devotee or a guy who's attempting to win over the beloved in Rumi's terms.
Mm-hmm.
Idea is you keep being nice, keep being good, you keep being having fortitude, resilience, faith, be a good human being. So now one little question that has not been covered, I would want to ask. These are personal properties. These, if they make us good human beings, what is the part of being good to others, or how do we socially interact? Do you have a methodology or something that you internalize so that it makes you the practical use of this goodness? One is to safeguard yourself, obviously. So, uh,
Right.
like one of the things that comes to mind, just to give you an example of what the question is, like you donate 10% of your earnings is a good Muslim um, thought process, if I understand correctly. But that is also true of a lot of other religions.
Right.
So something like that. But this entire journey that you spoke of, where there is a lot of you use loneliness to prop yourself up and bring about good qualities like resilience and humility and faith and whatever. So how does one contribute to the betterment of the society immediately around us or at the do we? And is there any personal experience that you would want to narrate?
Um, I would love to speak about the personal experiences. And I agree that yes, I have tried my level best to help those who are in need, knowing them and understanding that their circumstances are worse than mine. But the fact that I'm Muslim, I don't like to speak about the things that I do.
Which is fine.
Like I really wouldn't like to talk about the people that I have helped or may have helped or who consider whatever I've done for them help. So it's something that I would not open up about.
Yeah, which is not the question. The question is this goodness of heart that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any, say, your kids or your neighbors or somebody else who you interact with? Have they been inspired by something because of this goodness that has come about? It can't be useless that nobody understands. Only you think you are good. That's not fair because there is a lot of work you're putting in. So has it impacted others around you? Do they feel inspired, or do they want to do a little better,
I
or
hope they are inspired. I hope they are inspired. But yeah, I noticed one very sweet thing that my kid did once. We were on the way to her French class, and she saw a beggar, uh, and she said, "Mama, let's not give money." Because and she's smart. Okay, she's really smart. She's telling me, Mama, I want to give the person something, but I don't want to give him money, because once when I'd given a lady money, the cow, like, we were halted over there for a long time. She was with my parents at that time.
hmm,
She had gone for a holiday with my parents, and she noticed that the lady had gone to a BD shop and
hmm,
bought something from there.
okay,
So she's like, I'm not going to give money to this beggar because I don't know what he's going to use it on. So I have biscuit packet in my bag. So I'll give that away. So I said, yes, fair enough, fine. So I've seen that rub off. So that,
yeah,
I mean, that's something that I also encourage. It's not only coming through me, but it's also the values that we inculcate in our young ones, like, from the beginning, we teach them to share. And it's only food. It's just food, maybe that thing's not really meant for you.
yeah,
So I mean, someone's in front of you and they're hungry. So how can you bear that? I mean, and especially when you got the capacity to help, I mean, not help, but share what you got. So share it. I mean, it's always good.
yeah,
There was a Filipino friend I had. He always told me this, that I mean, he used to, whenever we bought food, we used to work together, and whenever he bought food, it was him buying the food for all the other Filipinos in the office also. And I said, why do you spend such a lot of your money? I mean, at that time, I wasn't this wise also. I was just probably 23 or 24 years old. And I was like, on a daily basis, you buy such a lot of food. And there's a lot of people eating with you. I eat my own food, but I mean, they were all eating those prawns and the things that they used to eat. And I'd be like, why do you do this daily? So he's like, he just told me, Uma, it's only food. It's good to share. I mean, how can I eat and, I mean, see that the others are not eating? I
yeah,
can't fill my stomach that way. So that's something that really touched me about him, and that's when, like, even when I speak to my children today, like when my children are fighting over a glass of juice or whatever, you know,
yeah,
because they do. These are very common things between siblings. They'll fight over slices of cake and they'll fight over everything that's there.
yeah,
I just tell them it's only food, Zara. It's only food, Sophia. You know, you got to share.
yeah,
Or the next thing you know, you're fighting over it and the thing falls down. It's meant for neither of you. So it's better that you share.
yeah. Wonderful. I think you covered a lot of ground. I am so glad that we had this conversation. Um,
Me too.
this entire journey of how loneliness can spur us on to think better about ourselves, go through varied things, and different facets of our own personalities can reveal itself. Um, I would want to mention a small thing. I am into meditation. So I had a meditator friend who once said that sometimes you have to work very hard to understand meditation. Uh, like you have to work very hard in the sense because you try and sit for longer hours without moving or without. So he says sometimes just to understand that little bit, you have to do a lot, which is exactly what you kind of said that when
Yes.
the time comes, you're going to get it. But the time comes, you have to make that time come also. You have to keep working towards it. because it's the amount of effort you put in, is the amount of love, is the amount of goodness that you gather in
Right.
yourself. And at some point, you're becoming more godlike only. God has all these properties and he has unfathomable part of it. We have little bit, so we got to explore at least the full little bit. We don't even go there. So I think, yeah,
Yes.
a lot of small
Yes.
things to ponder about. I will be glad to share this talk with the younger people also, because this is such a simple talk compared to what we generally land up doing. Gets very heavy-handed. So thank you so much for the.
Okay.
We covered a lot of ground. I'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Bunty. It was really, really lovely speaking to you. It was an honor, in fact, that as I mentioned earlier also, that I love to meet people who want to be of service to others. Like it amazes me. Like to live your life in that manner, and that's really amazing. And it's something that I would also want to do. I would love to do it. In fact, I'm happy that I'm a teacher because of this reason. I'm making use of my life.
Yes, yes,
So I'm really happy that we did this,
yes.
and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and honor. You are my 100th video guest, so I feel even more happier that
Thank you.
knowing you now. So I shall see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye, Bunty. Thank you so much.
Bye.